Final Fantasy VII has a number of villains that threaten the world, like Shinra or Jenova, and yeah, Sephiroth. But what if I told you there was someone at the heart of the hate in the game? Someone truly evil. Someone who could really be considered the catalyst for everything wrong in the world of Final Fantasy VII. The true evil of the game. So in today's video, I thought we could explore the theory of Hojo being the true mastermind, pulling the strings and manipulating all the pieces behind the scenes. Is he the true evil, the true villain of Final Fantasy VII? Let's look into that. Before we do that, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, because 90% of the people that watch this channel regularly are not subscribed. So let's try and bring that number down, and leave a comment. Let me know if you agree with some of the theories here on Hojo being the true bad guy. Let's go. This is going to be an interesting one. Professor Hojo is one of the most complex and sinister characters in Final Fantasy VII. His backstory, motivations, and actions are deeply intertwined with the narrative and have a large impact on many characters within the game. Now, little is known about Hojo's early life before joining Shinra. You would assume that Hojo quickly ascended the ranks due to his brilliance in genetic research and his willingness to perform unethical experiments that others might shy away from. His early work involves the study of Mako energy and its effects on living organisms, setting the stage for his later, more infamous experiments, starting with the Jenova Project. Hojo's most notorious work is the Jenova Project, which is aimed to harness the power of the extraterrestrial being Jenova to create super soldiers. This project is critical in the lore of Final Fantasy VII as it leads directly to the birth and eventual madness of Sephiroth, so let's discuss this one first. It all starts when Professor Gast and his team discovered Jenova in the Northern Crater. Jenova was initially mistaken for an ancient or a Cetra, and once discovered, the goal was to use Jenova's cells to create enough human Cetra hybrids to lead Shinra to the Promised Land. This, of course, was dubbed the Jenova Project. But once Gast realized that Jenova wasn't actually an ancient or a Cetra, he soon left, and there to take up the project in his stead was Hojo. Under his guidance, the research took a darker turn. Hojo's willingness to push ethical boundaries allowed the project to progress in ways that Gast had not intended. Now, for a bit more setup here, in Final Fantasy VII, we're introduced to Lucretia Crescent, a brilliant scientist specializing in biogenetics. Initially, she worked with Professor Gast on the Jenova Project, and during her time on the project, she met Vincent Valentine, a member of the Turks, Shinra's elite intelligence and security force. Vincent was assigned to protect the scientists involved in the project, and of course, the two developed a close relationship. Vincent fell in love with her. However, she harbored feelings of guilt and regret over her past, particularly related in her involvement in an experiment that led to the death of Vincent's father, Grimoire Valentine. Despite Vincent's feelings for her, Lucretia eventually became involved with Hojo, partly due to her desire to continue her work and possibly because she felt unworthy of Vincent's love thanks to her guilt. This relationship with Hojo was not based on love or mutual respect, but rather on a professional proximity and her need to atone for her perceived sins through her work. Hojo and Lucretia's relationship took a dark turn when Lucretia became pregnant. Hojo saw this as an opportunity to advance his research and proposed an unethical experiment, injecting the unborn child with Jenova cells to create a being with extraordinary powers. Lucretia, perhaps out of a desire to contribute to scientific advancement or maybe under Hojo's influence, agreed to the experiment. Vincent strongly opposed the experiment when he discovered what Hojo was planning to do and tried to persuade Lucretia to abandon the project. However, feeling trapped and possibly manipulated by Hojo, Lucretia decided to proceed with the experiment, and this of course led to a bitter confrontation between Vincent and Hojo. More on that later. Now, of course, this is one of Hojo's most significant and controversial actions, injecting the child with the Jenova cells. That child went on to become Sephiroth. Sephiroth was raised without a knowledge of his true parentage or the nature of the experiments conducted on him. He eventually became a legendary warrior for Shinra, but the truth of his origins and Jenova cells within him eventually drove him to madness and set him on a path of destruction. So it could be argued that while Sephiroth is the main villain of Final Fantasy, he's also a victim of Hojo's cruel mind and experiments. The core idea of the reunion theory is that Jenova's scattered cells will seek to reunite with the main body. This process is driven by a form of cellular memory, or like a homing instinct inherent in Jenova's cells. According to the theory, any being infused with Jenova's cells will eventually be drawn to the source of those cells, facilitating a reunion. Sound familiar? Sephiroth, created through the infusion of Jenova cells into a human fetus, of course Hojo and Lucretia's child, becomes a central figure in this reunion theory. When Sephiroth discovers his origins and the nature of Jenova, he begins to manipulate the cells and those influenced by them to achieve his goals. Hojo creates Sephiroth clones by infusing humans with Jenova cells, often leading to severe mental and physical transformations. Those clones are designed to seek out Sephiroth and facilitate the reunion. You know, the guys in the black hoods mumbling reunion. And throughout Final Fantasy VII, Cloud experiences hallucinations and moments of control where Sephiroth's will overrides his own, illustrating the powerful connection between Jenova's cells. Hojo's interest in the reunion theory is driven by his scientific curiosity and desire to understand the full potential of Jenova's capabilities. He views the reunion as somewhat of a grand experiment, observing the behavior of the clones and the ultimate outcome of the Jenova cells' homing instinct. Hojo's unethical practices extend beyond the Jenova Project and the reunion theory. He conducted numerous experiments on humans and creatures, often with little regard for their well-being. Two notable subjects of his experiments were Cloud Strife and Zack Fair. After capturing them, Hojo subjected both to intense Mako exposure and injected them with Jenova cells, trying to recreate the process that created Sephiroth. These experiments left Cloud with severe psychological trauma and altered his perception of reality. However, Zack seemed to be unaffected by this because he was already a soldier and likely already had the Jenova cells in him. Unfortunately, later though, Zack would succumb to lead poisoning. Ooh, too soon? Yeah, it's always too soon. Hojo was heavily involved in the creation and enhancement of soldier members, Shinra's elite military unit. Soldiers were subjected to Mako infusion and Jenova cell treatments to enhance their physical abilities. This project has severe side effects, including psychological instability and, in some cases, Mako poisoning. When the party first encounters Red 13, he's being held captive in Shinra's headquarters in Midgar. Hojo has captured Red 13 to study him due to his unique physiology and the fact that his species is incredibly rare and almost extinct. Red 13 is initially kept in a containment chamber where Hojo conducts various tests and observations. And yes, it should also be known that Hojo was attempting to breed Red 13 and Erek. Yes, breed them. Crazy. Now, following up from the comments on Vincent earlier, Vincent was subjected to Hojo's experiments after he opposed the unethical treatment of Lucretia and the Jenova Project. Hojo transformed Vincent into an immortal being with the ability to transform into various monstrous forms. Vincent's altered psychology and longevity are direct results of Hojo's experiments, which left Vincent in a state of perpetual sorrow and vengeance. A lot of this is later explored in Dirge of Cerberus. It's really interesting stuff. Now, near the end of Final Fantasy VII, the party returns to Midgar to stop Hojo, who is attempting to assist Sephiroth by overloading the Sister Ray with Mako energy. Of course, by this point, we already know that Hojo is Sephiroth's father, and it's really weird seeing him aid Sephiroth. From one or two standpoints, it could be argued he's trying to help his son achieve this godlike status, or he's just purely interested in science and his experiment coming to fruition. Now, by this time, you fight Hojo in his human form, and then as the fight progresses, he's known as Helitic Hojo and becomes even more monstrous with enhanced abilities. Now, Helitic is also a mistranslation of the word heretic, which shows that Hojo's experiments really have gone against how things should work in nature. Professor Hojo's possible role as the true villain of Final Fantasy VII is cemented by his unethical scientific practices, his lack of moral compass, and the profound suffering he causes. His actions have a cascading effect, leading to some of the most tragic and pivotal moments of the game. While other antagonists such as Sephiroth may be more prominent in the public consciousness, it is Hojo's cold, calculated villainy that truly sets him apart as the most insidious character in the narrative. His complete disregard for human life and ethical implications of his work make him a villain whose impact is really felt deeply and widely, ensuring his place as what might be the true villain of Final Fantasy VII. Do you agree with this? Let me know by leaving a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the video here for more content and check out my brand new turn-based JRPG podcast down in the comments. You can listen on Apple and Spotify or watch here on YouTube. Speaking of watching on YouTube, we'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching.